I clicked it.
Right.
Looks like we're live.
All right, welcome in everyone. This is the Urban Files. Your hosts Max and Chuck on each weekly episode break down the latest news and developments of cities and really discuss anything related to cities. So, Max, I know you, of course, had the opportunity recently
We're live.
to. All right, welcome in. Be at the Art Basel associated event in Miami. And of course, that was not necessarily the main Art Basel, but it was kind of more of a tech event that's kind of adjacent to Art Basel. So could you describe what that experience was like a little more?
Yeah. I mean, it's like adjacent because
Yeah.
my wife was involved in a few events that were adjacent to Art Basel, and then I kind of tagged along for some of it. But it was still interesting to see because I would say I've kind of done this before, tagged along to see stuff that's associated with Art Basel, but not the actual official event in Miami Beach at the convention center. But just a lot of the hoopla and excitement and peripheral events, and so since I've seen that before, I went back to sort of experience it again this year since there was sort of a break during the pandemic. And I wanted to see how things were changing, especially because, as you're alluding to, there's sort of this tech aspect to things this year that was a bit was new in a lot of ways, and so that was that was interesting. I really caught just a very small glimpse, but between that and also talking to my wife, since she was there for a bit more, definitely a lot more than I was. It was is I was able to sort of piece together sort of how things are evolving at Art Basel, and it's what you would expect if you consider the fact that Miami, over the course of the last year and a half during the pandemic, has really pushed hard to become sort of this tech, crypto, blockchain ground zero, if you will, in the US. And then the fact that Art Basel is really sort of the premier international event here in Miami, it just makes sense that those two worlds colliding during the weekend a couple weeks ago would come together and sort of find where does the tech world and blockchain meet art, which naturally would be with NFTs. So there's a lot of stuff going on with NFTs. That was sort of a large aspect of the event that I attended. And then there was also a lot of like very startup focused events and lectures, which my wife was a part of. She attended the pre-money event put on by 500 Startups. That's the name of the organization. And they had some really, really preeminent speakers in the industry. So they were drawing attendees from all over the country to come to this event and to sort of be there alongside all the tourists and visitors and artists from around the world who were there for Art Basel.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say that. I mean, I listened to a biopic of Steve Jobs, and he really tended to focus on kind of like where the convergence or meeting of art and science were in those worlds, and kind of like basing Apple as a company kind of around the sleek designs, and all of that was a very heavy focus of him, of course, being a Reed College alumnus, or not alumnus, dropout. We'll put that there. But, Francis Suarez, as the mayor of Miami, has kind of been, as you said, kind of advocating for it being Silicon Beach, and, focusing in crypto and different elements of technology. And so, it's really cool to see that they are using the festival as a point to grow businesses or have different launches. And, obviously, I don't think Art Basel is attracting, poor consumers either. So whoever is looking at these investment markets or opportunities of NFT, I think would definitely, stand to gain some customers there. So could you elaborate any more on like what your impression was of the specific speakers, or if you had any thoughts on some of the companies that were present there?
Yeah, well, my wife definitely, she was really engaged that first day that she attended. So I can't speak for her other than to say she relayed to me how how great it was to be there, and how her firm sent several people from other parts of the country. I think they had somebody from Denver and somebody from New York City, and they flew in sort of last minute, and that's why my wife decided to go join them. So I mean, a venture fund from California felt the need to have like 3 people present at this talk. So I mean, that kind of tells you who was coming, and how important how significant they believed it to be. For me, the event that I attended, which was sort of co-presented by my wife and her firm and this other company, called Oasis, I believe. It's a startup. It's a tech startup that focuses on helping everybody generate an NFT of themselves and own that. So anyway, that was interesting, and I
Yeah.
guess that gives you also a window into the type of companies that were represented. That event was basically the CEO and co-founder of Oasis speaking with the founder of a really cool venture fund based in Baltimore, Maryland, and who's also a colleague of my wife. So that's why we were there. That's why we were listening to them talk. And that guy was really cool, really insightful, and quite an amazing story of how he launched his fund. So yeah, it was cool to hear that. It was cool to hear sort of the philosophies that different people from different parts of the world, especially somebody running a fund out of Baltimore, which isn't the most common place, how he's approaching things and why. So it was cool to hear that. Also interesting to hear about this company Oasis and what they're trying to do. So they and their reason for being there, kind of what I was speaking to earlier, their reason for being there, I think, is to obviously drum up promotion and hype around what they're doing. But they were there. This is in Wynwood, by the way, this event. So not on Miami Beach, but close. And they were really trying to be sort of one of, if not the after party hotspots for Art Basel. So they had this sort of their venue was not like a bar or a club or a restaurant establishment. It was more like a private venue, which was really cool, really decked out and decorated nicely. And then they had food, they had tons of liquor, and he was saying, we're bringing in DJs, top 10 DJs in the world coming to spin at different hours, and they were planning to go like 24/7, so like all through the night. So when the bars and clubs eventually shut down in Miami Beach, they're still going. So they were, I guess that definitely. So
kind of adapting to the Miami culture very well.
Right, and playing into Art Basel fully,
yeah.
And that crowd. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, congratulations again to Kelly for having this opportunity with this company. And I mean, it does sound like you guys had a really cool experience there. I think it also kind of shows the strides that Miami and Mayor Suarez are making in terms of making Miami more of a tech hub for the NFT and crypto specifically.
Yep, definitely. I mean, that's a big talking point. It does sort of become a kind of an echo chamber when everybody's saying, yeah, Miami this, Miami that, and doing this and that. And so you kind of wonder what's a facade and what's real. But with that said, at this event, just mingling with the crowd and stuff, and talking to people, there's a lot of people who were there from out of town, who had either recently relocated to South Florida or were thinking about it. And that seems to be a frequent theme among a lot of the startup events that we have attended over the last couple of years. We see a lot of people really interested in or having recently relocated to South Florida in this space, in this industry. So
Absolutely. It'll be exciting to see what the future holds there.
yeah. All right. I guess we're gonna end this, and then we're gonna do a back-to-back bonus episode where we'll talk about my recent trip to New York.
Yes, stay tuned, everyone.